That day, the 82-year-old daughter finally met her 28-year-old mother again. They embraced emotionally at the corner restaurant. The daughter with silver hair leaned close to her mother's ear and whispered, "Happy birthday, Mom." "Thank you, Mom, love you. Seeing you makes me very happy." During the meal, Adaline told her daughter the 10-year period was up and she would move again. The good news was this time she would move closer to her daughter to conveniently take care of her. But her daughter refused, telling Adaline that she was prepared to enter a nursing home. Adaline was a bit angry. She had planned to accompany her daughter for the final stretch, but the daughter insisted on going to the nursing home. She understood her mother's hardship. She didn't want her mother to be sad because of her departure, nor did she want her mother to be in danger because of her. It turns out, Adaline is an immortal. 80 years ago, Adaline was still a rich family's daughter. During a walk with her family, the sea breeze blew away her hat. Then, she was picked up by a handsome man. With just one look, the two of them, from that glance, were struck by love at first sight. In just 3 short months, they walked down the aisle. A year later, they had the result of their love. However, the joy didn't last. In a bridge repair accident, Adaline's husband unfortunately passed away. Looking at the portrait in the church, mother and child hugged each other and cried, feeling as if the world was collapsing. But the tragedy didn't end there. 10 months later, Adaline also had an accident. It was a day of unusual snowstorm weather. Adaline, in a hurry to get home with limited visibility, accidentally drove into the river. In just 2 short minutes, the icy river water caused Adaline's heart to stop beating. At that moment, a bright lightning bolt struck Adaline's car. The powerful electric current reactivated Adaline's heart. She rushed out of the river and tried to breathe, then dragged her weary body, climbing up the shore, narrowly escaping death. But what Adaline did not expect was this lightning bolt not only saved her life, but also granted her the gift of immortality. However, for the average person, this is not a good thing. In the first 20 years, whenever friends were amazed by her looks and jealous because she looked as young as a daughter, Adaline could still excuse it as good care to dispel her friends' suspicions. But as time went by, her unusual appearance still attracts attention. "Ma'am, it says here you were born in 1908. That's right. So now you are 45 years old, correct?" "That's right, ma'am. I have to temporarily hold on to these papers. When you come to the police station to retrieve them, bring your grandmother's birth certificate. Of course, tomorrow morning. Is that okay, officer?" Of course. The officer's words also worried Adaline. Over the years she has turned books upside down, but still couldn't find out why she doesn't age. On the contrary, it was a mysterious organization. One night they found Adaline. "Sorry, you've got the wrong person. We are the FBI. We hope you'll cooperate." Feeling threatened, Adaline got into their car. In the car, Adaline wanted to know why she was being arrested. She hadn't broken any laws. They said it wasn't about breaking the law. They just wanted to do some small tests on her. It was then that Adaline realized, "My secret has been exposed." Unwilling to become a guinea pig, taking advantage of the opponent changing vehicles, in a critical moment, she cleverly removed the back seat of the car and escaped through the trunk. After returning home, Adaline hurriedly packed her belongings and then looked for her daughter. "Told my child that I must remain anonymous, leave our homeland, and from now on we can only call each other sisters. The next time we meet, I will have a new identity. I will always be your mother. But you must tell others that I am your friend." "No, mother. This is the only way. Come here." From that day on, for the safety of myself and my daughter, Adaline began her nomadic life. Every 10 years, she would forge an identity and move to a new place to live. On the run, loneliness became her constant companion. Although thanks to the accumulation of years, Adaline had soon become a billionaire, but money no longer meant anything to her. Currently, she works at a little-known museum. Her favorite thing is old film reels. These black and white images, to others are just history, but to her, they are real experiences. Times are changing, but Adaline's heart, like her appearance, remains still. She has become a passerby to the whole world. To maintain secrecy, she always lived alone. She never got close to others. Only a small dog passed down from generation to generation could provide her companionship. The only one she could call a friend was a blind pianist named Jones. She was the friend Adaline communicated with the most in the past 10 years. So when she invited Adaline to attend the year-end ball, although Adaline felt bored, she still chose to wear a gorgeous outfit to attend. It was just no surprise. Adaline saw a picture of herself at the ball. It was a picture taken here decades ago. Indeed, as long as one lives long enough, they will continuously encounter their past selves. The beauty and cruelty of immortality are both evident in moments of facing one's past self, evident without missing a thing. This is why countless people yearn for immortality, and also why Adaline had to run. Luckily, her blind friend couldn't see that Adaline hadn't aged, only thinking that Adaline was like her. Distressed by the passage of time, life's beauty fades further away. Adaline continually updates her friend on the situation in the hall. A man, astonished by Adaline's appearance, approaches her proactively. This makes her friend very curious. She doesn't understand why every time she's with Adaline, young men always come up to start a conversation. Before the man could speak, Adaline told her friend, "The man is a painter." This surprised the man. He asked if they had met before, but clearly, they hadn't. Adaline deduced his occupation from the watch he wore, and some paint remnants. More than 100 years of life had helped Adaline develop an incredible observational skill. The man sat down, wanting to continue the conversation, but Adaline was drawn to a figure. The man also recognized her. In a moment of silent gazing, Adaline's once dead heart felt a flutter once again, but very quickly, a woman intervened between them, breaking the vibrating atmosphere between the two. It's true that all the good men are taken. Adaline immediately felt disheartened. She leaned down and whispered to her best friend, pretending to say that she was old, couldn't stand the noisy environment, then stood up and left the hall. The surprising thing was, at the moment the elevator doors were about to close, that man rushed over and extended his hand to open the elevator door, then stood next to Adaline. The man was very experienced in starting conversations. When Adaline gave her fake name as Jenny, he quickly found a topic to break the ice. Just from a name, he could relate to a poem, exactly the kind Adaline likes. However, Adaline saw him kissing another woman, so she only saw him as a philanderer, directly rejecting Ellis's invitation, and warned him not to be a bad guy. Ellis hurriedly explained that the person was not his girlfriend, but his uncle's daughter. Unfortunately, Adaline was no longer interested. She walked out of the building and called a taxi, then got in the car and left immediately. Even though Ellis didn't care about the danger, he reached for the car window, stopped the taxi and invited again. Adaline still chose to coldly refuse. However, Adaline underestimated Ellis's determination. The next day, Ellis went to the museum where she worked, saying he wanted to donate some rare treasures. The only request was the hope to talk with Adaline. Initially, Adaline intended to refuse, but clearly, Ellis had found her weakness. The books he donated, each one was a unique treasure that ordinary people had never seen. This struck right at Adaline's weak spot. To keep those books, Adaline accepted Ellis's invitation for a date. But what she didn't expect was, Ellis didn't take the usual route. He arranged to meet her in an underground cave. He told Adaline that this place used to be a sea. Now it has become part of the city. The feeling of witnessing the change of time here made him fascinated. Adaline, following Ellis's guidance, found a ship buried in the ground. She touched the corroded wooden planks and couldn't help but feel stirred inside. She really wanted to know why the years that mountains and rivers couldn't resist couldn't leave a mark on her face. It's just that Ellis couldn't understand Adaline's sorrow. He kept on telling his story without stopping. He told Adaline that he was originally a mathematician. Because of developing a model, he became wealthy. His main job now is researching and protecting relics buried over the years. So what about you, Jenny? I have a dog. Alright. Facing Ellis's question, Adaline didn't want to say much. She had been through countless ups and downs, and had long seen through time. Now her life is as calm as water. Her mood is not easily swayed. On the way back, Ellis noticed Adaline's indifference, but he didn't want to end the relationship here, so he found an excuse. He wanted to tell Adaline a joke, promising that if he could make her laugh, they would continue dating. After that, Ellis told a very old joke, but he hadn't finished his story, and Adaline cut in. Adaline had lived so long. She naturally knew this story, but Ellis still tried to finish the story. Unexpectedly, it still made Adaline laugh. Bravo, ladies and gentlemen. This woman has been made to laugh by me. This is the worst joke I've ever heard. Thanks for the compliment. I didn't mean it as a compliment, but the reason she laughed was because Ellis told a joke very seriously. But in the end, Adaline still laughed, so Ellis got the date he wanted. Ellis chose his place for the date. When Adaline arrived, Ellis was cooking. His cooking skills look great. His house decoration is also very unique. It has a post-apocalyptic industrial style. This made Adaline feel very intrigued. Soon, Ellis finished cooking dinner. He unveiled the carefully prepared dishes, enthusiastically inviting Adaline to enjoy until she put the food in her mouth, praising that it's delicious. Ellis finally breathes a sigh of relief. He didn't ruin this date. They talk from careers to family, from work to life. The atmosphere becomes increasingly lively during the conversation. After the meal, the two sit on the sofa by the window, enjoying wine together, just gazing out the window. Across from them is a ballroom, people dancing on the dance floor right in front of them. At this moment, Ellis tells Adaline that he actually met her long ago. Back then, Adaline was sitting on the steps reading a book. That focused expression made Ellis deeply fascinated. "How long have you been watching?" "A long time, a very long time, until I was sure you weren't blind. I had to find you, but I didn't know how to find you, or when I'd find you, but I knew I could find you." A sudden confession completely shattered Adaline's defenses. Ellis tried to kiss her. Adaline wants to respond, but still worried. "Give me a reason not to reject you. Enjoy the moment right now." The next day, Adaline wakes up at Ellis's house. After a cheerful goodbye, she returns to her home. Just as she opens the door, she finds the dog lying on the ground. She hurriedly took the dog to the hospital. The doctor told her that the dog's time had come. The doctor left the final moments for Adaline. She shed tears, stroking the dog's head. The pain in her heart surged, unable to dispel it. It was late at night when Adaline returned home. Ellis's voicemail kept ringing, but Adaline was not in the mood to care. She flipped through an album recording memories, looking at each photo, documenting all the ancestors of the little dog. She placed the photo of the little dog last, then put the album in the box. As the box closed, Adaline's sadness finally became uncontrollable. It completely burst out at this moment. She lay on the box, sobbing silently. Another life has left her world, making her taste the bitterness of separation once more. She doesn't want to go through this feeling again, so she decided to leave Ellis. She went to her asset management agency and asked them to transfer the assets to a new name. However, that evening, Ellis held fresh flowers and stopped her downstairs. He didn't know what he had done wrong to make Adaline not answer his calls. Adaline had to tell him that her little dog had passed away. She needed some quiet time, but Ellis didn't believe her. The two of them argued about this. In the end, they broke up unhappily. Before moving, Adaline met her daughter once again. They looked through her old photos together, reminiscing old memories. Now, her daughter's hair is white, but the mother is still young and beautiful. Adaline will witness her child pass away. Immortality like this, isn't it also a curse? From her mother's deep, sad eyes, the daughter realized something was on her mind. Under her questioning, Adaline told her what she had been through. Knowing her mother had new feelings, the daughter felt very happy. She encouraged her mother to accept Ellis. Don't keep avoiding it anymore, because she knew her mother had been lonely for a long time. Ellis could bring her love and companionship. With her daughter's encouragement, Adaline finally decided to bravely face her feelings. She arranged to meet Ellis at an abandoned shipyard, leading him into a large hall. Ellis showed her the wooden ship buried under the ground. She also wanted to take Ellis to see the memories buried in history. It turns out, this place used to be a bustling cinema, but now it is abandoned. Only people who live as long as Adaline just remembered its splendor. Are you ready for the most exciting part? Of course. Alright, pay attention. So beautiful. Under the starry sky created by the factory, Adaline and Ellis confirmed their feelings for each other. All hesitation and separation became insignificant under the flame of love. They drank and chatted happily. They expressed their feelings to each other and shared passionate kisses. Over the weekend, Ellis decided to take Adaline home for a party. They had completely resolved all misunderstandings. The road was filled with laughter, but upon hearing news of his parents, he became extremely worried. From Ellis's brief introduction, they knew that Adaline was just an ordinary worker. Being parents, it's hard to avoid suspecting the girl only wants to climb the Ellis family's wealth. The couple was thinking when the sound of a car was heard outside. Despite their doubts, the mother still warmly welcomed the two who had just arrived home. Ellis hurriedly introduces Adaline to his mother. Adaline greets her warmly. For a moment, the atmosphere becomes very harmonious. At this moment, the father slowly steps out of the room. However, with just one glance at Adaline, the old father is struck as if by lightning. Adaline, Jenny, my name is Jenny. Dad, are you okay? Sorry, you really look like an old friend of mine. Adaline Bowman, that's my mother. Are you serious? Yes. Do you know her? Of course, of course, of course. Dad met her in London. Yes, she lived in London in the 60s, before she moved to Paris and met your father. Hearing these words, William's expression softened, but his face was still flushed. Memories of Adaline kept flooding his mind, causing him to momentarily lose control, made the situation very awkward. But what William didn't know was, Jenny in front of him was actually Adaline, whom he had met before. They met in London in the 60s. At that time, Adaline's car broke down. Coincidentally, coincidentally meeting William, who was studying in London. Just a glance, they were attracted to each other. With William's help, Adaline's car started successfully. Watching the car gradually drive away, William thought their fate had ended. Unexpectedly, Adaline turned around, drove back, picked William up. They quickly fell in love, living happily together. However, when Adaline discovered, when William wanted to propose to her, fearing her secret would be exposed, she chose to leave. Since then, they hadn't seen each other for decades. William completely lost contact with her. When they met again, the former lover, she had become the girlfriend of his son. Of course, at this moment, besides Adaline, no one knew the truth. That evening, they gathered to play a guessing game. Usually, this game was always William's strength. Only he could remember those rare facts. But this time, Adaline had the upper hand completely. Even the most difficult puzzle, she can answer immediately. This knowledge, for Adaline, who has lived for a long time, is really not difficult. In which event did the hula hoop first appear? In 1956, at the World's Fair held in Schenectady, New York. Schenectady, New York. The World's Fair, 1956. Oh my! Everyone was amazed, consoling the father in unison. The sister teasingly said, "Who would have thought Dad would lose the game?" Appearing in this world earlier than Della, the familiar name made Adaline a bit dazed. She didn't understand why her nickname would appear at the Ellis house. Ellis hurriedly explained, "It turns out, William's biggest hobby is astronomy. He once named a comet in the sky Della. He said it was to commemorate his grandmother, Adele, but Adaline knew that wasn't the case." After the game ended, she found William stargazing outside. "Why did you name it after my mother?" "At that time, I intended to propose to her. I bought an engagement ring and kept it in my pocket. She didn't come, just a little short. Good night, William. She loved you too." The next day, as Adaline was getting ready to go for a walk, she was suddenly called back by William. It turned out there was a small bug on her head. When William helped her get rid of the bug, he accidentally saw the scar on Adaline's left hand. Old memories flooded back. The future recalled the experiences shared with Adaline. At that time they were exploring in the forest. Adaline accidentally cut her left hand. Eventually, William used alcohol, stitching the wound for Adaline, stitch by stitch. Thinking of this, William hurried to the long-abandoned house, rummaged inside and found a box, then found a photo from that year. Look at the location of Adaline's wound in the photo. William confirms that Jenny is the former Adaline. He drives after Adaline. Agitated, he asks her why. I know who you are, Adaline." "What? This wound, this exact same wound. I sewed it up myself." "William, why is it like this?" "I don't know either. I used to be an ordinary person, until one day, my time stopped. I didn't know what to do." Adaline didn't know how to face it, only able to run away again. She took a shortcut to William's house, hurriedly packing clothes. After leaving a note for Ellis, she took his car keys, hurried out the door and drove away. No matter how much William persuaded her, she didn't stop, until Adaline was far away. Ellis just came out of the bathroom after showering. He saw the message Adaline left for him. He hurriedly called Adaline, but no one answered. In his anxiety, Ellis rushed out the door. After getting the car keys from his father, he drove after her. On the other side, as night fell, Adaline gradually calmed down from her panic. She kept recalling the experiences of the past 100 years, the times she was forced to flee, memories of parting with family and lovers, kept echoing in her mind. Tears fell uncontrollably. She pulled over to the side of the road, making a decision in the dark. She decided to turn back, no longer running from her life. However, at that moment, a car from behind rushed and crashed into her car. The car that caused the accident didn't stop, leaving Adaline thrown out, lying alone on the ground. Snow began to fall gradually. Adaline's life was like air, becoming colder and colder. When Ellis arrived, Adaline's heart had stopped beating. He tried to perform CPR on her, but it was ineffective, until the ambulance arrived, bringing out the defibrillator. The powerful shock affected Adaline's heart. Just like the lightning strike 80 years ago, it brought her back from the dead. When Adaline was taken to the hospital, she was completely out of danger. Ellis was always by her side, until it was confirmed there was no danger. He was no longer worried. The two survived the accident. Unable to contain their emotions, they hugged each other tightly. The near-death experience made Adaline finally decide to confess her secret to Ellis. "My name is not Jenny." When the silver-haired woman arrived at the scene, their emotions had returned to normal. Knowing that her mother was safe, the one by her side was her lover. "Only then can my daughter be at ease. I am Jenny's grandmother." What happened? He knows the truth now. At this moment, the silver-haired girl finally cries with joy. She knows that from now on, her mother will no longer be lonely. She warmly embraces Ellis, fully accepting this young stepfather. After that day, Ellis and Adaline, mother and daughter, lived together, Adaline could finally be with her daughter in her final moments. Her love also took a happy shape. Even more fortunately, when she was getting ready to go out as usual, she suddenly discovered a gray hair. Looking at the strand of hair representing aging in her hand, Adaline smiles contentedly because she understands that the curse bestowed upon her has finally ended. She can finally fulfill the wish she has longed for hundreds of years, to grow old together with her loved one. The lonely immortality of one person is actually a very despairing thing, because you have to watch the people around you gradually grow old. You can't have a lover to grow old with. Such a life feels like being trapped in a time black hole. The longer it lasts, the more desperate it becomes. For Adaline, the splendid life that immortality brings is actually not as good as living an ordinary life with someone you love. To be able to love and embrace love, it's a superpower more worth pursuing than immortality.